One of the most urgent tasks for our country is to decisively defeat the climate hysteria hoax.
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
The ability of CO2 to do the heavy work of creating a climate catastrophe is almost nil at this point.
The price of oil has been artificially elevated to the point of insanity.
That's not how you power a modern industrial system.
The ultimate goal of this renewable energy, plan is to reach the exact same point that we're at now.
You know who's tried that? Germany. 7 straight days of no wind for Germany. Their factories are shutting down.
They really do act like weather didn't happen prior to 1910.
Today is Friday.
That's right, Greta. It is Friday, and this is the best day of the week. And not just because the weekend is almost here, but because this is the day the Heartland Institute broadcasts the Climate Realism Show. Happy New Year, everybody, and hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. My name is Jim Lakely. I am the Executive Vice President of the Heartland Institute. This is an organization that has been around now for 42 years, and we are known as the leading global think tank pushing back on climate alarmism. The Heartland Institute and this show bring you the data, the science, the truth to counter the climate alarmist narrative you've been fed every single day of your life. There is nothing else quite like the Climate Realism Show streaming anywhere. So I hope you will bring friends to view this live stream every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And also like, share, and subscribe. And be sure to leave your comments underneath this video. All of these very easy actions help convince YouTube's algorithm to smile upon this program. And that gets it in front of even more people. And as a reminder, because big tech and the legacy media do not really approve of the way that we cover climate and energy policy on this program, Heartland's YouTube channel has been demonetized. So if you want to support the program, and I really hope you do, please visit heartland.org/TCRS. That's heartland.org/TCRS. And you can join other friends of the program that support this show and brings it to the world every single week. And we also want to thank our streaming partners, junkscience.com, CFACT, What's Up With That, the CO2 Coalition, and Heartland UK Europe. All right, let's get started for our first show of 2026, and it's a big one. Today we have with us Anthony Watts. He's Senior Fellow at the Heartland Institute and the publisher of the world's most viewed website on climate change, What's Up With That. We have Sterling Burnett, the Archbishop of Canterbury, who in his daytime serves as the director of the Arthur B. Robinson Center for Climate and Environmental Policy at Heartland, and Linnea Lueken, Research Fellow for Energy and Environment Policy at the Heartland Institute. And of course, thank you very much, producer Andy Singer behind the scenes, making sure the show looks and flows great. And we are so happy to welcome a very special guest today, Lucy Biggers. Lucy is extremely influential on social media. She does social media for The Free Press, which is an absolutely essential independent journalism outlet that you must check out. Up until about 2020, Lucy gained followers while posting about climate change and helping climate causes go viral to millions. But then her perspective shifted and she saw the light of truth, you might say. And we're going to learn a lot more about that later in the show. So welcome very much to be with us today, Lucy. We're very glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. That opening was so electric. I loved it.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I certainly hope this isn't your last time on our show because you're going to have a lot of fun today. All right. Before we get going, I want to remind everybody that on April 8th and 9th of 2026, the Heartland Institute is hosting its 16th International Conference on Climate Change. You can go to heartland.org for more information. Tickets and space is limited. So if you want to see everybody on this program, including probably Lucy Biggers, you're going to want to get tickets to that event. It's nobody else puts on a conference like this except the Heartland Institute. The leading scientists and experts on climate and energy will be there giving wonderful, very informative presentations. So go to heartland.org and you'll see a feature right there at the top. You can click that and you'll find a way to get tickets. So hope to see you there April 8th and 9th in Washington, D.C. All right. Well, let's do this for the first time in 2026. It's the crazy climate news of the week. Hit it, Andy. All right. Thank you very much, Bill Nye, back for 2026 as well, introducing this segment for us. Now, You may have seen this in the news that there's been a blackout in Berlin, and rather than putting up a story on the screen, I came across a video from on X, the account of Che Bose, and this young German lady is going to explain the situation for us. Can you play that video, please, Andy?
The big Berlin blackout. And it's officially now the longest power outage in Germany's capital since World War II. And yes, it's -6 degrees right now here in the morning, so people are freezing in their homes. According to Berlin police, there has been a rise in break-ins, robbers trying to get into people's homes or businesses or robbing ATMs. This city's power grid was attacked by allegedly a left-wing extremist group called the Vulkangruppe. They claim to fight rich people and climate change by destroying infrastructure.
Okay, yes, Claire, thank you very much. That's so that's a pretty good explanation. That's pretty much all we need. Now, apparently the power is back on now in Berlin, and I know we have viewers in Germany, so very happy for you. Good for you. And the far left group in English, I think, is called Volcano, and they claim responsibility for setting fire to a key power station in Berlin. And this is the same group that in 2024 said it attacked a power plant near Tesla's factory outside of Berlin. So this tracks. Anyway, Linnea, I'll start with you, and I'm sure Lucy would love to weigh in here as well. But it's obviously bad that Berlin's power grid is this vulnerable because this is really not that sophisticated of an attack, and all it took was the will to do it.
Yeah, I mean, really, this kind of let me think for a second here. It's not so much that it was a sophisticated attack. They just knew which station to target, right? Instead of, going after some peripheral one that doesn't really matter all that much. They knew exactly what to do. It's just typical environmental terrorism from the same old groups that we've been dealing with for decades and decades. This isn't anything new, really. It's just a pity that it's still going on today. And this kind of thing it doesn't really make sense to attack electricity infrastructure and to, knock out the power to people's homes and stuff. Because all you're doing is hurting people that otherwise might have had some pity for your cause. It's the same thing when protesters are blocking roadways and, vandalizing the Mona Lisa or attempting to, that kind of thing. It's like average people don't find this compelling. They're not going to think that this is a cool thing. And wow, I should really pay more attention to the message here. You've just made me an hour and a half late to work. Thanks. It's just silly.
Yeah. Lucy, did you ever hear about such plans like this when you were involved in the environmental left movement?
I never got that extreme, but I'm sure I brushed shoulders with people like this. I made a video about this issue on my Instagram, and the point that I made was that inevitably for some people in climate activism, they're going to turn to violence like this, because when you have such a nihilistic worldview and you think that the world's going to end and everyone around you doesn't care, what isn't justified. And so I think most people will never get to this place, but for the radicalized few who want to take things into their own hands and be vigilantes, I think we're going to see more and more of this as we also see the mainstream moving away from climate action. I mean, you're just seeing like some Trump's decisions, which we're going to get to, and Bill Gates. And I think that the climate fever has broken among the elites, but then there's still the brainwashed masses who maybe don't understand the importance of reliable energy. And yeah, the irony is not lost to me that they're really hurting the people that they're trying to help. So, I mean, it's ridiculous.
She's so right. The world is moving away from alarm, and so they're more and more desperate because I take it they're true believers. They're really in a panic. I don't think they're doing this to profit in some way or something. But I think it's ironic, sad that they say they're doing this to punish the elites, the wealthy elites, and to fight climate change. My suspicion is that this won't be a blip in emissions. It'll do nothing for emissions. And the elite are the ones that are going to be least likely to be impacted by this. Their power goes out, they switch on the Generac. Yeah,
exactly.
The average folks don't have the Generac. They've got big marble fireplace. The elite have big marble fireplaces. They have gas if they don't have electric, and they've got their own generators. So tell me how the elite are harmed by this. No, what it does is, it's not just bad. It's not uncomfortable. This sometimes kills people. When we had outages in Texas, people died. 200 something people died. And believe me, it did not make their cause more sympathetic to the families of those or their neighbors or even the entire state where those people died.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll just move on now. Andy had found video of the attack, but we're going to move on because thankfully the power is back on in Berlin, but maybe they'll be keeping a closer eye on their power grids these days. All right. Item number 2 is maybe you won't eat the bugs. This comes from our friend Joe Nova, a wonderful climate blogger down in Perth, Australia, with the headline, Europe's biggest insect factory goes bankrupt. These bugs are not even dog food. I'll read a little bit here from you for context. Joe writes, in the renewable frenzy of the early 2000s, Yinsect raised 600 million euros to, quote, reinvent the food chain and pioneer alternative foods that, quote, respect the planet's boundaries. Some $200 million of their funding came from hapless taxpayers somewhere, but in record time, seemingly before it even began, it was already gone, bankrupted. And not because people don't want to eat mealworms, which they don't, but because there wasn't much market in making animal feed either. Turns out that farm owners did not want to spend 2 to 10 times as much on sustainable cattle fodder. So the company shifted focus to high-end pet food, where besotted owners have the money to spare, but that crashed too. A little bit more detail from TechCrunch. The company's demise is hardly a surprise, as Yinsect had been embattled for months. Still, there's plenty to unpack about how a startup can go bankrupt despite raising over $600 million, including from Robert Downey Jr.'s Footprint Coalition, taxpayers, and many others. Ultimately, Yinsect failed to fulfill its ambition to, quote, revolutionize the food chain with insect-based protein. But don't be too quick to attribute its failure to the ick factor many Westerners feel about eating bugs. Human food was never its core focus. And revenue was the problem. Its revenue, the revenue from its main entity peaked at 17.8 million euros in 2021, a figure reportedly inflated by internal transfers between subsidiaries. By 2023, the company had racked up a net loss of 79.7 million euros. All right. So as Joe points out, in the biggest irony, insects need high temperatures to grow fast, and the energy costs was what was killing them here in this factory. So Sterling, yeah, isn't that fascinating? So Sterling, maybe we will not have to eat the bugs, and neither will our livestock or pets.
Well, I was never going to eat the bugs, regardless. That was not even a question. But my dog, she's over here. I was trying to get her attention. I guess I have to be a stranger outside to get her attention. She points birds. She chases squirrels, but she's never pointed a mealworm in her life. She was not going to eat mealworms or cockroaches or whatever else they would have made. And I certainly wasn't going to pay to have her do so. I don't want, I long to see the package that says mealworm bone or byproduct as part of the ingredients. Look, this is stupid. This is the fake meat. This is the insects. This is the elites. Some people say we know a way to make money on the global warming scam. And that way is to convince people that meat eating is bad for the planet. And so we will come up with alternatives. Now, some of these alternatives, like insects in pizzas or dough and stuff, turns out to be dangerous because some people are allergic to those types of things. And if they're not warned, they can have a bad reaction. But also, it's just unseemly. Nobody, my ancestors, I'm convinced that probably millions of years, dozens of generations ago, my ancestors ate some insects. I'm convinced that when they were out on the African plains or somewhere in North America, when they got hungry, they ate a few insects. But my ancestors have struggled hard not to have to eat insects since then. and we don't. So it's crazy that taxpayers ever ponied up for this. If there's a private company that can make money off this, more power to them. If people want insects, I say buy insects. But what I don't believe is that taxpayers should pick up the bill. And I'm completely unsurprised that it turns out people don't want to eat insects, and they don't want their pets eating insects.
So, Sterling, I'm going to push back on that a little bit because my pets do eat insects. I just bought a 5-pound bag of mealworms for my chickens. It was on sale at Tractor Supply, and they are farming them in factory farms for mealworms or for crickets or botflies or whatever random different types of bugs that they want to sell to your lizards and fish and all that stuff. So, but anyone who has ever tried to raise insects themselves so that they can save money on the factory ones, they usually kind of quickly find out that it doesn't really save you any money. One, because of the energy costs, and also because of like the footprint that it takes to do it. It's just not worth it for most people, unless you're like breeding tons of fish or something and you need a huge amount of brine shrimp or like sea monkeys or whatever. which is what sea monkeys are, a type of shrimp. But
Sure.
and they make great fish food. But it is really energy intensive. And anyone, if they could have just like gone to one of these pre-existing bug factories and say, hey, how do we scale this up? Then they probably would have figured it out pretty quick. But a lot of people really enjoy reinventing the wheel.
I have a feeling when they talk about pets, they weren't talking about chicken feed, however. They were talking about get your dogs and cats. And I'll admit, if my dog sees a bug, as my wife calls them, little animals, running across the floor, oh, Bubba, there's a little animal, get it. It will attack it. It's fearsome with those bugs, but it doesn't seem to like the flavor of them too much. Winchester, she gets it, she snaps on it, and she goes, and spits it out. So, your chickens, I don't even consider them emotional support chickens. I consider them food producers. So I'm not going to count them as pets. That's agricultural feed.
Yeah, that's true.
I think one of the things that's so interesting, having come from the left and being remembering the mindset of when I would see something like this and go, oh, that's so amazing and heroic. We're all going to eat bugs. And it's the psychology and the psychological programming from the media where you're told the world's going to end unless you eat bugs. You have to eat bugs to be a good person. And so we have all of these stories that it was like the bugs, the plant-based meats that are flopping now. And the final conclusion of all of this is you have less power and you have less control, and the hands of producing the food is in the hands of these big corporations instead of ranchers. And it all becomes a control thing. And I can see that now from this side. But when I was in that mindset still, I was convinced that I was just doing my part, right? You all just reduce, reuse, recycle, and eat bugs. So I'm glad, I think the reality is that the economics of these things don't work because people don't really actually want them. Feel good only goes so far. And so this is a good development, that the economics are what are ruining it because the ideology was going strong, I feel, but the reality is people just don't want it.
It's the fake meat is the same thing. How they produce the fake meat in a lab is very, very energy intensive because they have to do it in very sterile conditions. And the energy cost for that was more than, feeding cattle in a natural grass or in a feedlot even.
All of this stuff is just bizarre to me though, Sterling, because why are they, you can go to Costco right now and get a huge package of frozen black bean burgers. And they're not very expensive.
They're actually pretty good.
Good. And, people will eat that. They're not going to use it as a replacement for meat unless they're a vegetarian or a vegan. And actually they did studies to see what people were buying, the kind of people who were buying like the Impossible meats or Beyond Beef or whatever at the grocery store. They found out that most people who were buying that were buying it as like an interesting thing to buy in addition to their regular beef and chicken and pork and everything. So it was something that they were just like adding to it. And then when people found out that it had like 6 times as much salt or whatever as actual meat, they just stopped buying it. So
What?
All I can say is this.
there was no benefit.
All I can say is this. Maha finally got something right as far as I'm concerned with the new food pyramid. And it's very meat heavy at the bottom. I didn't see black bean burgers. What I saw was beef and chicken down there. So way to go.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they made it they spent even more money to make something that already existed way more complicated and less appealing.
Yeah,
which is just an astonishing success for them.
Well, I came across something on a totally different topic, and somebody had commented that tradition are just experiments that work and prove to work. He's like, well, hey, there's a reason why we haven't tried to, on an industrial scale, make bug-based proteins for humans, because it's not practical, and it never was. It's like, I have a brilliant idea, and then it lasts about 2 days. But none of these ideas, it's okay if you have that idea and you want to put your own money into it. God bless you, but don't put my money into your cockamamie idea, especially to save a planet that doesn't need saving.
I think the whole thing, they said it was a failure of revenue, right? Well, I get that, but revenue is tied to marketing. And I think basically they missed a great marketing opportunity here to be able to market a hamburger called the Big Nat.
Oh, always got to have a quick trigger finger for the rim shot for whenever Anthony starts talking. All right, let's move on. It's starting to gross me out now, so we'll move on to our third item, which is compact fluorescent bulbs are now banned in Illinois, which I find a little strange because weren't these just made mandatory for everyone a few years ago? So we're going to go through it. This comes from our friends at the Center Square headline. Illinois' compact fluorescent bulb ban begins to take effect. One of nearly 300 new laws that took effect in Illinois on New Year's Day is a ban on compact fluorescent light bulbs. State Representative Nicholas Smith, Democrat of Chicago, introduced House Bill 2363 in February of 2023, and Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the measure in August 2024. The law prohibits the sale and distribution of screw-base and bayonet-based compact fluorescent lamps. Restrictions on pin-based compact fluorescent and linear fluorescent lamps are set to begin in 2027. Now, the main reason this is necessary, they say, is because, when people were required to replace their incandescent bulbs with CFLs, they came with the convoluted and inconvenient disposal instructions that pretty much everybody ignored, including me. You come arrest me. And the mercury in these bulbs created an environmental hazard. And 3 and 4 fluorescent lamps actually are improperly disposed of, thus leaking mercury into the environment. Now, Anthony, I contend that the law of unintended consequences remains undefeated, and this is exactly actually what climate realists said would happen back in 2027 in the Obama administration when the bannings of incandescent bulbs began.
Yeah, well, the problem with the left is they get this idea, to save the planet in one way or another, but they never really think it through. They just simply don't go all the way through the process to figure out, well, what will people really do with these things? How will people use these things? What will they do when they get rid of them? And so they barrel down the road, towards salvation of the planet without doing the engineering and the studies behind it and saying, you need to get this in order to save the planet. The end result almost always is some sort of a train wreck when you're doing that sort of a thing. And I mean, we have solar panels and wind turbine blades, for an example. They had no disposal plan for these things. They still don't, except to bury the turbine blades in the ground. And that's not environmentally friendly. But because of the things are made of, fiberglass and all sorts of different epoxies and so forth, they're not something you can easily recycle. And it's the same thing with solar panels. Solar panels, they've got silicon, they've got glass, they've got epoxy, they've got electronics. They're not easily recyclable. So I suspect we'll probably see here, the solar boom started around 2006. We're probably going to see a lot of solar panels get buried here soon because after about 20 to 25 years, they stop losing their efficiency to produce electricity. And at some point, they're not going to be able to sustain their value.
I was writing about the CFL thing more than a decade ago. back when I was in another organization. At the time, you could go to the EPA's website and they tell you how to clean up a CFL if you broke it. Your house became a toxic waste site. They said, put on gloves, air it out so you don't breathe in the fumes. It had all these the EPA had detailed instructions as to how to clean up the glass and materials from a CFL bulb. And it was amazing that they basically said, you're not qualified. You wouldn't be licensed to handle toxic waste, but we want you to put it in your home where they frequently break, and then we're going to have you not being qualified to handle it. You don't have a hazard suit or anything. Just put on some gloves, get a broom, throw your broom away after you've used it because you don't want to use it afterwards. It was, and what the problem they have is, I think the environmentalists, when they propose these things, is they have tunnel vision. They have one environmental problem that they're going to fix. In this case, it was energy use. They didn't care about toxins. They didn't care about waste. They don't care about energy efficiency in the sense of, well, you don't know it, but a lot of people's heating bills are lower when they use traditional incandescent bulbs because the heat helps heat their homes. So they had this tunnel vision. It's the same thing with wind turbines. Oh, well, wind turbines don't put out any CO2 at the point of use. Not the mining. They don't care about the birds. They don't care about the land because they have one thing in mind. And with all these things, first, you should do an apples to apples comparison environmentally. There is no green energy if by green.
Nope. Sterling froze.
Sterling.
Amazing.
Back,
in here.
my back.
Yeah.
There's no green energy source. If by that you mean an energy source that has no environmental impact.
Yeah.
So you need
I
comparison.
I know my audio is going in and out, but I hope I'm back. But as someone who pushed the straw bans, the plastic straw bans back in my day, I apologize and I atoned for that. And I always say, if there's one thing you really want to hate me for, it's not that I now love fossil fuels. It's that I helped get plastic straws banned. And the psychology of the climate activist and the desire to belong in a group, and you just kind of pick up the marching orders of what the cause of the day is, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. And I think, Jim, you were saying, or maybe Anthony, it's so true. They don't think about this to the final path. They don't think about, now we're going to have metal straws or we're going to have paper straws that are soggy and leach bad chemicals. And so that's the environmental movement in a nutshell. It's very emotional and black and white thinking. And I get so frustrated when I see this overreach in policies. It's like, why do we care? Why are we passing a statewide ban on plastic straws? Don't we want to worry about home ownership and our schools and electricity prices? And they just waste so much hot air on really pointless policies. And then you could really argue harmful because they're making everything way more expensive. I don't know. I just saw something today that how right now in all these red states, there's like 10 red states right now that have gas below $2 a gallon. And and blue states are just not getting that because we probably have the carbon tax for this and the carbon da-da-da. And you're just like, seriously? So there's so much.
I will point out, full disclosure here, I have a hoard of plastic straws in my home.
And I use plastic, so-called single-use plastic bags for other multiple uses. They're never single-use. I worked on the single-use thing. It's like, okay, what are the alternatives? Oh, well, paper bags. Well, that's good for the timber industry and the ecosystems where the trees.
And horrible for the shopper. Mine are always breaking. I live in a town with banned plastic bags, and I do bring my reusables because the paper is such a horrible experience that I'll bring like really big sturdy ones, but I do have to buy garbage bags now for like my bathroom garbages because there's no plastic bags.
Exactly. You got to buy garbage bags. Also, if you don't keep those reusables clean, the meat from the store leaks, the blood leaks into the bag.
Yeah.
You don't wash it, or if you're sick and you sneeze on it, all of a sudden, you're putting on the little conveyor belt at the grocery store. I'm sorry, that's not clean. There was a reason why New Jersey delayed their plastic bag ban during the pandemic, during COVID, because they didn't want people passing on COVID through reusable bags.
True.
They don't want them passing on flu during using reusable bags or any other virus. Or why just pick on COVID?
Yeah, the paper bags are all fun and games until you live somewhere super humid enough so that by the time you get to your car, the bags are like slowly falling apart.
Yeah.
The paper bags are a crime against humanity. I'm holding them, and then they're breaking and they're double bagging them. And I have 2 young kids. I have one kid, and then it's falling, and I'm just like, God, I hate myself. I think I just froze.
Your
I'm
video.
saying I hate myself. I hate my former self. It's like myself from the future cursing myself from the past. Like, why?
You're going to find
when we get to it to hear about your road to Damascus conversion there. But
you're going to
paper bags also, not just the paper bags, but the reusables. They use more energy in production. They use more water in production, but also they take more fuel because you can't put as many paper bags in a big truck hauled to the grocery store. So they have to run more trucks to carry bags.
It cracks me up because all my research that I'm doing right now, just to get myself educated on any topic and the books that I read, it's not that the environmental alarmists are wrong. It's always that they're actually the opposite of true. The opinions they hold are almost a 180 away. Polar bears, they're extinct. No, actually, they're actually at record highs. Coral reefs, they're dying. No, actually, they're at record highs. Weather is dangerous. It's no, actually, less people are dying. Every single thing. Or paper bags are better for the environment. No, they're actually way worse. You can't make it up.
There's, being an environmentalist means never having to apologize for being wrong.
Right. Well,
because it's all about virtue. It's all about feeling good about what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about. I think my segment is upon us.
It is upon us, but it's really important to confess your sins, and you did about the plastic straw ban. I think that's great. You're going to find that the climate realism community is very forgiving, so it's okay. It's fine. And I also want to point out that you guys are all pikers on this plastic straw stuff. Not only do I have a hold of plastic straws, they are single use only. 1 sip and then I toss. Oh, and I need to clean one. So you guys.
No, I actually go out and I stick them into turtles' noses. I finish my straw. I find a turtle, and then I just go, there you go.
Oh my God.
We're getting back to the old in the tank we hate the whales argument here now.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on because we want to learn more about our new friend Lucy Biggers here. I've titled this one "Climate Alarmist Sees the Light," and you've already got to know her a little bit already on this show, but I think a really good example of what she does now and how very, very good she is at it is best seen in a video from Instagram. I believe it's the Instagram account of the Free Press, which is great. And so I have a link in there for you, Andy. If you can play that, hopefully that it's nice and loud. This is chef's kiss. Let's go.
Climate activist who broke up with the movement and healed my climate anxiety. And now I'm going to climate march to see if I can heal more people with the facts.
Do I have climate anxiety? Absolutely.
A little bit, yeah.
A lot.
It's the first thought on my mind every day when I wake up.
The world that I'll inherit will be essentially beyond saving. I'm just gonna have to die young in a dying world.
What's the point of even doing anything if the earth is going to blow up?
Things are not looking better right now.
So I actually have a few charts that maybe will make your climate anxiety feel better. Climate-related disaster deaths are at an all-time low, so they've dropped by 99% since 1920. We are actually safer than ever from climate-related disaster deaths because of modernization. Less people are dying than ever before. So it used to be 500,000 deaths a year, and now it's down to 20,000.
And is that due to the fact that climate change is abating? I don't think so.
No, it's because we are adapting.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we have early warning systems. We have cars instead of horse and buggy. When a storm comes, we're much better at evacuating.
I think those numbers would be much higher if you took out the billionaires, white, well-served, privileged communities.
One thing we could think about doing is lifting the most people out of poverty. And the thing that actually does that, don't be mad at me, guys, but it's literally when you increase fossil fuel use, you increase GDP, and that's when you lift the most people out of poverty. poverty.
This is a very Western-centric perspective.
Well, this is India and China. When they increased their fossil fuels, they became richer, and then their life expectancy increased.
A lot of my work is around stopping fracked gas pipelines.
The thing about fracking that's really complicated, though, is that it's 50% less carbon emissions than coal.
I got somewhere to go, and I don't want to talk to someone who's defending fracking.
Okay.
Well, I'm afraid that maybe in about 10 years there won't be a place for us.
I used to think that too. A lot of the worst predictions have not come true. Can I just show you some of it?
Sure, why not?
Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy, you like freak out, but it's not historically unprecedented.
I love that.
Hurricane rates and frequencies, despite what climate models were predicting, our observed data shows that they've stayed the same.
Makes me feel better.
I think the way the news covers it every year, they say it's because of climate change, but when you actually look at it, we have not seen it go up.
I have a lot more to worry about than just if the next hurricane's going to kill
But
me.
then maybe you have one less thing to worry about now.
Possibly.
Are you worried about the climate?
Not too much.
Why are you here?
Selling facts.
So the worst heat waves we've still seen ever in the U.S. are from the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. So we're not living through the hottest time this country's seen, which I did not know that, and that made me feel better. This is actually milder weather than what our grandparents lived through.
Well, that's awesome.
Climate scientists will predict the future, and a lot of times the predictions are really wrong. So no, that's good for us. Some of them are predicting we were going to see almost 1 degree of Celsius of warming. The blue line is what we observed, only 0.1 degree warming. You're not going to die from climate change, and I think it's really important.
So nice.
That's awesome.
I'm surprised.
Yeah,
Good.
protect the planet and like keep your passion, but don't be afraid. I think in this day and age, to be optimistic is actually more radical than to be nihilistic.
I completely agree.
And I want to be abundantly clear. I am not a climate change denier. I am just anti-climate alarmism that is hurting these kids. They are walking around with fear. I think it's a complete injustice. And I hope that I just changed one heart and mind today by showing them the facts. I'm Lucy Biggers from the Free Press. Let's all just take a deep breath. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Yes. Like, she's so cool.
Lucy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you were approaching these people that were out on the street, and you're showing them these graphs, and these graphs are the staple of the work we do. And, we have them all through climateataglance.com. But I wonder, when you showed them these graphs, I mean, do you think they actually accepted it?
So there was two camps. There are the camp of people who you saw the girl who was like, well, if the white privileged billionaires were doing it. So they're a little bit more further gone, and they're sort of in the socialism, communist, Marxist ideology. So their brainwashing goes a bit deeper and I think is more strongly held. And then there was a group, this really great group. It was 2 boys and 2 girls who were just from their environmental club from college. And they genuinely were like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. And they wanted me to come. And they never reached out to me because maybe they went to my page and decided I was a right-wing nut or something. But they were really nice. And they were like, oh, I do really feel better, because they were just genuinely really scared and kind of had bought the messaging at a surface level. And so those were the ones that I was like, oh, you're reachable. You don't really know what you don't know, and you're just kind of believing the mainstream narrative on this. And there was the girl who's sitting down. I was like, don't you think it's more bold to be optimistic instead of nihilistic in this day and age? And she was like, yeah, I agree. And so I think, so that's, I feel like for some kids, just being a model of, hey, this is another way to look at this. This is another way to show up in the world and address this topic. There's a reachable group. And then there's another group that's like the fracking girl who's like, I'm not going to talk to someone who's defending fracking. And you're like, okay, this is already your job. Like, you don't want to listen because you've invested so much at this point into the movement that you're too far gone. So like my thing, the kids I want to reach are the really sweet kids who are just scared and they don't think they have a future. They're not necessarily really politicized, but they never thought, why would I question this? It's everywhere. This messaging is everywhere that I have no future. So
I got a follow-up question here.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any death threats yet?
Not that stand out. No, I get messages.
Then you're not a true warrior until you get a death threat.
Maybe you guys walked so that I could run, right? Like all the crazies already used all their death threats on you. I don't know. It will happen, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So 2 things. First off, you're doing God's work there.
Thank you.
And I could see you were being successful in doing it. It was, I love that video.
Thank you.
I loved the conversation, how you were approaching it. my favorite parts were twofold. When they said something about, oh, that's very Western centric, and you show India and China, and she's like, I don't know. She had nothing to say. Mouth fell open, and that was it. And then the other one is when I don't know how many billionaires that one lady thought there were, that if you took them out of the equation, suddenly you'd have lots and thousands of more deaths. I'm guessing maybe there's 1,000, 2,000 billionaires around the world.
Yeah.
Out of 8 billion people.
Right.
It's a number below the margin of error that they could discover if you took all the billionaires out that aren't being killed by climate change. So,
Right.
Just some stupidity. But let me ask you this, because I think that what I want to get at is, and I talked about it, your road to Damascus moment. You're saying one day you're working, you're standing side by side with Greta. You are banning, you're working to ban plastic straws. And I take it this wasn't just a fun thing for you. You had a belief that this would make a difference. That
My favorite picture.
An issue that was important. How did you come to the realization that you were wrong?
So it was a gradual transition. So I'm 35 now. So my climate activism days were from when I was 25 to about 30. And then I have my kind of deprogramming and reprogramming phase, which was the first half of my 30s. And then this is the year that I decided to kind of go public. So it was very long transition. But when I was in the climate movement in my mid-20s, I had a lot of doubts the whole time that I did not express, where I would sort of look at it and go, wait, if I just ask one more question, the premise of this kind of falls apart. But I just wouldn't ask it because I'm getting accolades for just pushing this very generic messaging. And my messaging was always like, how to lower your carbon footprint. It wasn't like, we need to get rid of American imperialism and colonialism. Like, I never was like a Marxist. I'm kind of, you guys can tell from my personality, I'm a very positive person. My natural disposition is very optimistic. And so the sort of darker parts of climate, I never went there. And I kind of would be like, that's depressing. We're now going to say that climate change is white supremacy or something. So I would just do these pieces on, renewable energy. And like the way I would describe it is that it would be like, if a circle is all the information and I would cover a pie of the pie chart, right? I would only cover this much of the story. And this would be the forward facing part I would put to the world, or like an iceberg where you only have the top part that you're showing. And then underneath I had a lot of questions. And I always say, like, at that time, if you got a few glasses of wine in me, and if you were a trusted friend, and I kind of felt like I would kind of go, wait a minute, actually, like, these pipeline protests in North Dakota are kind of bullshit. Like, it makes no sense. Like, I would say that. So it's not like I don't know. It was a lot of like a forward facing persona where I was getting a lot of accolades. I was getting a lot of acceptance from the group. And then internally, there was a lot of dissidence and cognitive dissonance because my belief system wasn't solid. And so now I see this question, like, when did I come out of the climate closet? This past year, I had this experience where I went to the Free Press, which is Bari Weiss, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. And she's an amazing leader in sort of the Think for Yourself movement, and what she's doing. What you guys are doing around climate, it's almost like what she's doing with mainstream media, because the mainstream media has become so ideological and lost the plot. But I've worked at the Free Press for 3 years. And so in that time, I almost feel like I was at the foot of greatness, right? I read every article every day for 3 years. I did the social media there. I got to see the works of these amazing writers who were so much smarter than me, Victor David Hanson and Neil Ferguson and Douglas Murray and Barry. And so I learned from them, like, what does it take to stand on your own? And what type of person do you have to be to sort of take the arrows to go against a group? And so for 3 years while I've been here, I feel like I've almost just been waiting. And then earlier this year, so in the spring of this year, was when I decided to cross the Rubicon and go public. And so I started posting on my TikTok about how I thought the climate movement was a scam. as I said, why as a former climate activist, I now think the climate movement is a scam, which I thought was a very hooky way in. And then from there, I just sort of kept going every day. I did 30 days. I made 30 videos in 30 days and got my confidence up. And then it sort of snowballed from there. And again, like the difference between the type of person that I am now with a much more cleaner or clearer sense of self, solid sense of self, and not getting my value from the group, but getting it internally. Versus when I was a climate activist, I got my values from the group. And so I didn't question, because questioning felt like I was questioning my own safety. And I think that's why I think where a lot of activists are now, and it seems to be crazier by the day, that they probably have a similar story, whether they're conscious of it or not.
Wow.
Powerful testament.
Thank you.
I like this comment from Mars Rock, who says it's time for a climate walk away movement.
Oh my gosh, seriously. There's so much we could do. I want to go to campuses. I think I want to do a spring campus tour. Like, I think I could do something like a piece of paper. You know, you've seen those now. It looks sort of what Charlie Kirk used to do, but like something on a sign that says like climate change isn't dangerous, like change my mind or something. So I'm just really trying to study right now, because I think going into this whole thing, before I went public, I knew the basics. Like I read Apocalypse Never by Michael Schellenberger. I love Alex Epstein's Fossil Future. So I was familiar. I was familiar enough to know that those were the right ideas and I had been on the wrong side. But then even since going public, I've just been reading more and more and more, because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be this advocate, and this is how we all got connected too, because I've been reaching out to people being like, I need to be connected with the people who know what's going on even more than me. And I would say like now, every day I'm realizing how much more of a scam it really is. I think even like when I started making content, I was like, oh, I just don't think the solutions are right. And now I'm like, I think the whole thing is a house of cards and a money grab and an ideological capture. So, but then you also have to realize like, where are people, right? Like if I went up to someone at that activist thing and said, you know, that climate movement, climate change, like I have a lot of questions, they won't necessarily even talk to me. And so I like to talk about the indisputable facts. The fact that we're safer than ever, I think, is the most, like, that's the hardest to dispute, right? That like, even if a climate change is happening, like they're saying, we're safer than ever.
Well, I think perhaps the most important outcome of your, I won't say ministry, but your efforts, is something that we've focused on here a long time, not just getting facts out, because we do that. We do that daily in Climate Realism. We do it at Climate at a Glance through our books. But the thing that has bothered me the most about all of this is the impact on the psychology of use.
Me too.
The damage it's doing. You know, they say, oh, we have climate mental illness now. We have eco psychology. And that didn't come from them viewing nature and seeing it falling apart.
Right.
It came from them reading newspaper reports or social media posts that's telling them the world is falling apart, it's coming to an end. We're creating the psychological problem.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come from nature. It doesn't come from the climate. You know, to hear my parents tell it, you know, the climate was so much worse before when they had to walk 20 miles in the snow to get to school uphill both ways, right?
Yeah.
But
so true.
So we're creating these problems, and the fact that that is the essential core of what you are trying to address is to helping them not live in fear.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it.
I just think
that is it. It's, I don't want people to live in fear. And, you know, like you keep saying these religious and like ministry undertones, but I really do feel that calling where I want to help these young people who are truly, they're incapacitated by fear, and it's a man-made fear. It's not reality-based. And so the more that I can get people grounded, and like you said, you're not walking outside now and saying the weather's worse. You haven't observed anything in your life, right? Minus storms, which they've always happened. And so, yeah, I feel like it's such an important mission. And again, even when the Bill Gates of the world move on and the money goes elsewhere because they realize solar and wind isn't a good investment or whatever it is, the young people, there's an entire generation, probably younger, my age and younger, down to 10 or whatever, who they've been taught this stuff in school from the day that they could read, and they're getting be made afraid from this. And so even if they're never going to go, burn down a power station or glue themselves to a road, they have a subconsciously held belief about the world, that the world is damaged and it's going to go downhill from here, which is a false belief. So the amount of human capital that's wasted on just people who don't have hope really upsets me. And it's like so much bigger than climate. It's sort of like how people like your generation were afraid of a nuclear war when they were growing up. And you thought it's very similar to me. It's sort of this unseen catastrophe that you can't control.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, I think
real quick.
to mention here is that these people were not, these young people that you're talking to, they were actively lied to. You were standing there showing them the data. They were, this didn't just happen. It wasn't an accident.
Right.
They were lied to about the state of the climate and about man's responsibility for a crisis that doesn't exist.
I know.
And for years and years and years. And it's so wonderful that you saw the light, that you educated yourself, that you got the facts, calmed down, and then are now trying to calm down an entire generation of people who, like you said, have been raised in a state of literally constant climate anxiety. And it's
so sad
because they were lied to.
Did you see the girl? She said, it's the only thing I wake up thinking about every single day.
Yeah, Michael Crichton wrote that book called State of Fear that was about the climate scam.
It's on my list to read.
That's what it is. And look, this is worse. You talked about, you compared it to the nuclear scare. Look, the nuclear scare, not power plants.
I got it.
But
have it on a bookshelf.
But nuclear bombs, that's a real thing. We had this.
Yeah, no, that was actually a real one.
Yeah, we had the crisis and people were doing duck and cover. But I don't recall the generation that experienced that saying, well, because we have no future, we're not going to have children. Why form a relationship? Why form a meaningful relationships? Because we have no future.
The nihilism of it. Yeah, and I think it's like
produce that kind of nihilism, because I think in part because they thought, well, really, that's beyond our control. We don't control the nuclear weapons. Somebody else does. And they're being told they're the ones killing themselves.
No, it's insane. It's insane. And I think it's also like, how do you communicate it in such a way that also doesn't create a new fear, right? Where you're saying you've been lied to. Like, and I'm not saying that you guys are doing that, but I think that's the thing I'm really mindful about, is like showing up very kindly and compassionately and just presenting facts and saying, hey, like, we're safer than ever. Like let's just start there. And then, but then you see the people go, and like, while I was actually at that event, someone had gone, I'd interviewed them early on, and they went and found my Instagram, and then they came back and they're like, don't put me in that video, because they're like, I don't want to be represented by this. Because even though our conversation had been really kind, and they were like, wow, I didn't know that, thank you so much, they then went and like kind of plugged back into the narrative. And then their mind told them, like, you can't trust her. And I remember when I was in the movement, I would see Alex Epstein on X, and he would like reply to climate alarmism stuff and like have facts. And then like someone would reply to him and be like, he's a fossil fuel shill, blah, blah, blah. And so people now do that against me, which is funny. And so the attempts to like keep them locked into the mindset, right? Then you have to discredit me as a person. I'm a fossil fuel shill. I'm right wing. I'm a climate change denier. I'm spreading misinformation. And like, I know you guys, I mean, like I said this before, but it's like, you guys like walk so I can run in a sense, because like I have never been censored on social media, which is crazy because I'm getting into it so late. Where you guys, like the fight that you had to put up before Mark Zuckerberg decided he was based and stopped, censoring the way he did, and before Elon bought X, I just can't even imagine like what you guys went through. So thank you so much for holding down the fort. And also, like, I always am saying, like, I'm like, nothing that I'm saying is new, but I think that the thing that I bring is I'm a messenger, because I speak the language of the left and those young people, and so I can reach them using their own terminology and break through in a way where they're not spending time on like climate realist blogs like I am now. I read the hockey stick illusion book. I don't think they're going to spend a few days reading that 300-page book, which was really good. So yeah, I think there's so much left to be done though.
Thank you for saying that. We have been suppressed. We've been threatened. We've been demonetized. All of us have been through that.
Well,
And
heck, Anthony, none more than you.
yeah,
It's so unjust.
I'm the leader in stuff being thrown at me. I'm still suppressed on Twitter, although they won't admit to it. Facebook's opened up for me, but and Google is the worst. Google has basically taken my website, What's Up With That, and made it invisible. And not much I can do about it because they're a behemoth and you can't talk to anybody there.
Yeah.
So keep up the good fight. You're doing the right thing, and I'm glad you got in at the right time because you got in after all of the suppression that we went through is happening.
Right. And now hopefully we can really start changing the culture, right? Like the curriculums that are taught in schools. I mean, I know, but like that's one of the things on my goal and vision board, when that comes through, is just like, we need to not be teaching this to kids in school.
Yeah, you need to be teaching them from the Climate at a Glance book, which when we spoke,
Yes.
I promised I was going to mail it to you.
Send it to me. I need to read it. It's on my list.
There it is.
I need that. I need that. I know.
I got
I've been
2
reading.
copies on the way to you. I sent a message to our office manager.
Oh, perfect.
And put your address in there while we were talking. So it's on the way. Consider it
There's
done.
so much out there, and I feel like my obsession. I know we showed that video of me out in real life, but I love making short form social videos, and so I'm always trying to make things go viral. So I'm taking a lot of things that are out there and that you guys have all done this great work, and I just translate it for the very online crowd, and with the graphics and everything. And so hopefully the tide is turning.
Yeah. Well, we could have dedicated, and I was going to do it. We're going to dedicate the whole show just about talking with Lucy Biggers because I knew it would be just like this, and it's wonderful. But we do want to hit our main topic today, which is in the thumbnail of this video anyway. And then we're going to get to Q&A, and a lot of questions are for you, Lucy, and that's great. But there was fantastically big, enormous news out this week, and it was that, we'll take it from the BBC. Finally, by the way, we are out. We are out of the climate alarm, the global climate alarmism business, it appears, at least for now. This is from the BBC. Trump withdraws U.S. from key climate treaty and dozens of other groups. U.S. President Donald Trump has withdrawn the U.S. from dozens of international organizations, including many that work to combat climate change. Nearly half of the 66 affected bodies are United Nations related, including the Framework Convention on Climate Change, a treaty that underpins all international efforts to combat global warming. Groups working on development, gender equality, and conflict, areas the Trump administration has repeatedly dismissed as advancing, quote, globalist or woke agendas, are also included. The White House said the decision was taken because those entities, quote, no longer serve American interests and promote, quote, ineffective or hostile agendas. The memorandum was signed on Wednesday following a review with the White House describing the organizations as, quote, a waste of taxpayer dollars. Quote, these withdrawals will end American taxpayer funding and involvement in entities that advance globalist agendas over U.S. priorities, it said in a statement. It added that many of the organizations promoted, quote, radical climate policies, global governance, and ideological programs that conflict with U.S. sovereignty and economic strength. As well as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, the United States has also withdrawn from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, Sterling, as Joe Biden might say, this is a big effing deal. This is a historic move, and I think this exceeds all of our expectations for the moves that Trump would take on climate.
Look, it's not just climate. More than 60 different treaties, programs, half of them in the UN, but other multilateral things that we've been a part of. No more Global Climate Fund, no more IPCC. That somehow Gutierrez at the UN says, you're still obligated to pay. Make us, I say. This is the biggest blow, and I've said this, the biggest advance for U.S. sovereignty and economic sovereignty, geopolitical sovereignty, vis-a-vis the rest of the world that has been taken in my lifetime by any president. in one fell swoop, we're out of all sorts of things. And all of these things. Now, I would say, I thought his statement was wrong in one respect. He said they no longer serve our interest. They never served our interest. These things never served. They were always other countries with compliant U.S. bureaucrats who want to be globalist, taking steps that harmed the U.S. from the start because they robbed voters, taxpayers, the U.S. citizens from control over their own lives through their own government and handed it off to other governments. So this is an amazing thing. And the sad thing is, I did an interview yesterday about this. So it happened late Wednesday. And for hours and hours and hours, I don't normally do this, but I did that night. I watched TV news programs flipping from one channel to the other to hear them comment on this because this is big. This is huge. And all I heard about was Minnesota. I heard a little about Venezuela. It's tragedy. What happened in Minnesota is a tragedy. What happened in Venezuela, my wife and I, because she's from Venezuela, we watched it all day on Saturday. She was talking to relatives. But nothing that happened this week is bigger from a global perspective than what Trump did here. And it got nary a mention on any of the mainstream media outlets.
But you know what? That might actually be a good thing. Because I don't think that the public understands what's going on. I'd rather have them not even notice this and let it just go through without the freak out that we always see and just let it go. Because if it wasn't ICE, they'd be out protesting, like, rejoin the IPCC. Like, let them, like, you know what I'm saying? Because I was just going to say this is like, there's such a translation issue because I am like a climate realist, see the benefit of leaving all these organizations. But even a year ago, I would have had a pit in my stomach going, why are we leaving this? And maybe there's a good faith argument for staying in for maybe some of these. I don't know. Maybe, obviously you don't think that, Sterling, but my point is that maybe the masses don't know what's going on and why this is good. So I'd rather have them not even talk about it or notice and just let it go. You know, there'll be the think pieces like, you didn't notice what just happened, but Trump just did the worst thing ever. You know, that's coming out. Give New York Times a day or two.
Well, for me, Lucy, not only do I think that, no, there's not a single one that we should still be in, but I think it was just a good start. That there's dozens and dozens of more that we should also be getting rid of.
Yeah.
I mean, the good news is that without the United States money, it's very, very difficult. It's a lot more difficult for the global climate agenda to be pushed forward. I mean, you know, we've been guilted into it for decades, and those days are over. And as you know, if Gutierrez wants our money, come get it, buddy. You know, good luck to you. All right. Well, we have so many questions. Let's just get to that right now. But we wanted to cover that very, very important news. But before we get to our Q&A, it's very important that I tell you about the sponsor of this program. And I know this is not the segue that Linnea could do, but I want to tell you about our sponsor, Advisor Metals. Now, if you're like me, you listen to tons of conservative shows on streaming media, and you hear tons of pitches for buying gold, silver, and other precious metals. There are a ton of companies out there, but I want to tell you why you should trust our sponsor, Advisor Metals, and that's the man who runs the company, and his name is Ira Bershatsky. He is the managing member of Advisor Metals, and he doesn't employ those high-pressure tactics or deceptive marketing ploys like many in so-called big gold. He also does not deal in rare coins. When you buy gold and other precious metals from Advisor Metals, you're dealing in quality bullion, and that is so much better when it comes time to liquidate your very valuable physical asset. And when you buy from Advisor Metals, you will have your investment sent discreetly to your very home. I also want to mention that Ira is advertising on this program because he is an America First patriot. He does not donate to Democrats. He refuses to work with proxies of the Chinese Communist Party. And he, like us, abhor the machinations and schemes of the World Economic Forum and the United Nations IPCC. So we are very proud to have him as a sponsor. So if you want to diversify your investment portfolio, if you want to back up your IRA with real physical bullion of precious metals, go to climaterealismshow.com/metals. You can leave your information there, and Ira will make the process very, very easy for you. Again, climaterealismshow.com/metals, and be sure to tell them that we sent you, because that helps us while you're helping your financial future. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And now it is the very fun part of this show called Q&A. Take it away, Linnea.
Here I am in my group of kindergartners, which is our audience.
Your favorite drop.
Audience, we love you. All right, let's see here. We've got a lot of questions, some of them science questions and most of them questions for Lucy. So get ready. All right. So, this is for us though. EJ Worm, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name there. It says, on the ICCC, will there be an event rate at the hotel or are we on our own for that? I don't know the answer to that.
The answer to that is that there is an event rate at the hotel. Somebody actually was having a little bit of trouble with it just this morning, but if you call the Hotel Washington, which is where the event is taking place, and tell them that you were there to book a room for the Heartland Institute's climate conference on April 8th and 9th, they should be able to give you the discounted rate.
Awesome. There you go. Okay. Chris Nisbet, very frequent viewer of ours, says, Lucy, what do you think your conversion rate is? Oh,
Muted.
You're muted. Everybody
That's
gets
converting.
muted.
Gym. She doesn't know it's called a gym.
Converting climate activists to realists.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, I think it's low. I think it's at that day, I think it was maybe 50-50 in regards to that video was the only time I've done that out in the streets. I need to go do that more. But in regards to my social media, I think a lot of people who follow me already agree, or maybe they weren't activists, but they had some fears. And so I'll get messages from people who are just like normal moms. And they were like, oh, wait, your content's making me feel so much better about this. I'm just not going to worry about this anymore. But they never really were like activists before. So I think maybe, I don't know if that gives you a good, I don't have percentages, but
yeah, but that's an amazing service just to remove one of the million things that we have to worry about from people's like daily concerns. Now they're not going to have to look out the window if it's raining outside and be like, man, this is the climate crisis, you know?
Yeah, you know, the importance of it is not I don't think how many activists you convert. I think activists are going to be the hardest ones.
I agree.
Because they are not driven by facts. They're driven by their emotional attachment to doom,
right?
To doom belief. But if you help mothers help their children not to fear, right? Something they feared before and they don't now, man, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And those people are reachable.
Yep. All right. So this is a tongue-in-cheek question from our frequent viewer, K1, who says, so how much does Lucy get from the fossil fuel industry?
I'm not enough, obviously. I love the fossil fuel industry. I love cheap, abundant energy. I think oil and gas and coal are amazing. So, but I do think I have to stay clear of like the money. I wouldn't take it, not because I have any issue with the fossil fuel industry, but I wouldn't take it because of what people could use that against me so easily. So yeah. I do not take any money from them.
We'll take it, although we don't get it.
I'll take it. Wait.
We have no such concerns. By the way.
We have no such concerns and no such funding at the same time, which is unfortunate.
No, I mean, I would be down. But I think for now, I have my full-time salary job at Free Press. And so I don't have to, I'm not in a position to have to do that. But, you know, we never say never.
All right. Mars Rock over on Rumble says, how have her friends, family, etc. reacted to her change in viewpoint?
I think most people, at least to my face, just like, okay. My coworkers are the ones they were the first ones I was proselytizing to about a year ago. I was like, guys, fossil fuels, bad rap. And they were like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, but like, think about it. And they were like, okay. And so they were the ones who kind of like, what are you saying? And then I just sort of sprinkled the entire newsroom and became climate realist. Because I'd be like, wait a minute. Deaths from natural disasters are down. Why is no one talking about that? So I think everyone, the Free Press, I think I did a lot to seed the newsroom with that and make it more acceptable to sort of question the main narrative. And then with my family, I mean, you have the outliers who maybe push back, or they're like, why are you against progress? And, you're just kind of like, ugh, well. And then I lost like a lot of people when I was very activisty. I had people who I'm no longer friends with, but those are fake friends. But I will say I had messages from very unlikely people who I worked with in the climate movement, who were like documentary filmmakers, other activists who said like, great job. I haven't been able to come public, but I agree with most of the things that you're saying. So below the surface, a lot.
I've heard some of that too. I talked to some people a couple of months ago about a documentary that they're making about fossil fuels, but like this is how the industry is being, denigrated unfairly kind of a way. And they're like, almost none of our, camera people and all these, people who are working with us were on our side of this issue when it started. But throughout the like research and them getting to like talk to people who work in the industry and scientists and stuff, now they're all convinced. So their whole
well, it's true because it's the truth, right? I think that's the thing is like, no matter what, we have the truth on our side, and so you kind of can laugh at the crazy people because you're like, I mean, ultimately, like they're great.
Yep, absolutely. All right. John says, my only question would be, can Lucy come back in 6 months and give us an update?
Yes, definitely.
Sure.
In that regard, by the way, you might not have to wait 6 months. Lucy will be soon getting an invitation from me to speak at IPCC 16.
Woo!
We're hosting a panel on moving youth. Informing youth, and we'd like her to be a participant. So if you come to the conference, you might see her live. She might even deign to smile at you and maybe wave in passing, something like that.
Tex says, have any of Lucy's former crazy climate friends also converted to climate realism? So can you think of any that were like more intense or as intense?
I have like two people, one person who's in my DMs slightly. I know that she's a realist, but she doesn't post anymore. I can just tell. She's like, good work. I'm like, and then, there was a documentary filmmaker who also was like, I don't know how to use my skills, but like, I agree with this. So, people are moving. And then, there's the Gretas of the world who have gone totally to the dark side and no longer even care about the climate. And I don't know what she's smoking, but she's lost.
That was the next question here is Rick Schaefer says, has Lucy talked to Greta since her conversion?
I never was on, talking terms with her. I met her twice. I met her once in person and once again over Zoom. But I remember early on in making content this year when I was sort of getting my, feet wet again or whatever, I did a video kind of calling out one of her posts and saying how it was really bad and she was so nihilistic and negative. And I felt really kind of awful doing that. But then since then I've done about 5 videos and she's my favorite person to debunk because she goes, have you seen this one? She's like, businesses are fleeing Germany because of the greedy business owners. And now we must put the industry into the hands of the working people. And you're like, why are they fleeing, Greta? Is it because the energy costs are 4 times higher in Germany than in China, maybe? I don't know, maybe. And are your green policies behind that? And so, I love dunking on Greta now because at first I felt that connection. You're like, you don't want to, but now it's like, come on, she's doing harm.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I love that you have that ready to go.
It's one of our favorites.
That's the staple of our show.
Very good impression also.
I didn't know I had that in me.
Yeah.
That was very, very good.
All right. This is one of the science questions that we have here. This is for you, Anthony, because I don't know quite how to tackle this one. GFIG says, how can we prove that stratospheric cooling cannot be proof of anthropogenic global warming by CO2?
Well, that's a topic that's too deep for us to discuss in the time that we have here. So I'm going to defer it to another time.
Okay, we might have an article up somewhere talking about that. I'd Google, if I were you, GFIG, I would go to What's Up With That and look up stratospheric cooling or something. And
we've got a number of articles there.
Yeah.
Climate realism also. We have some
do we?
articles
Okay.
on it.
Alrighty. And he has a similar question about the skin layer of the ocean warming, but that's GFIG. We love these science questions, but we don't quite have time to get into that much detail on the show today. We have, okay, Fix It Fast asks, how much would it have cost to stop the climate from changing?
Billions and billions.
Trillions and trillions.
Trillions and trillions, yeah. Infinite. It would be infinite because you can't stop changing.
All the money. That's the answer. All the money.
King Canute realized this so long ago when his courtiers said he could stop the ocean from rising, and he said, "Really?" And he stood there, and it seems to be coming up. I'm doing my best. You can't. We don't control the climate. So it doesn't matter how much we spend, we still can't control the climate.
We can't control the weather either.
Yeah.
That reminds me, Lucy, I got a question for you. This is kind of important. Do the people that you used to work with, do they think of climate as something that is an entity that kind of swoops down from the sky and does things like weather does? Or do they realize that climate is simply a statistical construct of numbers averaged over 30 years? Do any of them get that?
I think it's an ideology to them as much as they just think climate change is happening and it's our fault. I don't think that they think past that. And every extreme weather event, they go, see, we can see it with our own eyes. And you're just like, okay.
Point them.
Well, I have a question for you guys, because I feel like this is like why they think this time is different. And in regards to climate is I think we basically have 30 years of data now. Like in 2005, fine. We didn't really know, but we have now 25 years of satellite data, right?
More than that.
And nothing has changed?
Satellite data since 79.
Okay, 79. But what's the statistic that I saw that was like extreme weather has not increased globally since 2000, the year 2000? I've seen that go around.
Well, you can go back to 88, though, is when Hansen first testified about that in his show trial, climate Marxist show trial type thing in the Senate. So we've got all the data from them. As far as your former allies that are really, really scared, just point them to the South Park episode the day before, the day after tomorrow, because that's what Anthony was sort of talking about. Is in that it's an entity. It's oh my God, global warming, and it has a shadow coming across them.
Yeah, they really are convinced. They're really convinced. But also you have to understand to say and even in my video, I say, I'm not a climate change denier, because you have to hedge that, because that's what they're immediately saying. And I'm a climate skeptic, I guess you could say. I become more of a denier every day. I'm just kidding. That's going to get clipped.
I want to do an episode where we're skeet shooting climate change out of the sky.
But I just think, it's so the ad hominem attack of if you become called a climate denier, you're now outside of the realm of polite society. So we don't have to listen to you anymore because you're a kook. And that is where a lot of people live in my world. And so I will joke and be like, I'm basically a climate change denier. It's like a bit that I'll say with my coworkers and stuff. But I am very careful to say no, we see warming's happening, and we have CO2 going into the atmosphere. Those are the facts. We agree. And after that point, nothing is settled science. So that's how I kind of express it. Do you think that's a good way to do it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the real brilliant moves by Al Gore and others is to use the term carbon pollution. Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. And all these kids you're talking to on the street in that video all think carbon dioxide is a pollutant, or like something coming out of a smokestack. It's not. So I think that's probably the really hardest thing to hammer into people's heads who've bought all of this BS, is the idea that carbon dioxide is not a pollutant.
It's amazing. I mean, and now I'm like, this is actually having a net positive. I think it's great.
And one of the things I always like to say about the satellite data issue and the climate and extreme weather issue in general is every single year that we continue to record satellite data, across all of these different metrics is another year of a data point that we can add to this and make more people aware that there's not this, dramatic change going on,
right?
That we should be worried about. And so far, the satellite data really hasn't borne out almost any of the categories that they're worried about. So,
right.
All right.
I don't have a YouTube channel.
No YouTube, just Instagram.
I don't have one really yet. I've like inconsistently posted on there, but I'm on TikTok and Instagram and X.
Definitely.
And Substack, but it's all the same content kind of everywhere.
Okay. Who is the biggest climate hypocrite in your opinion?
I mean, probably Bill Gates.
Yeah, maybe.
The thing is, it's so great to not be a hypocrite anymore. Because I'm like, I am not worried. I am just living my life. I'm not worried about my carbon footprint, and it feels amazing.
For me, mine, I think, would be John Kerry, because he really doesn't care at all. Like, at least Bill Gates doesn't actually think that it's like a world-ending type of thing. He's investing in solutions and stuff. John Kerry just like jet sets and does speeches.
Yeah. Mine would be
Leonardo
Al Gore, but
DiCaprio.
he's irrelevant now.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio is a good one. Al Gore. Yeah.
Leo DiCaprio taking a helicopter to his yacht. I think that's pretty tough to beat.
In his documentary Before the Flood that came out in 2015 was one of the big ones that brainwashed me. And now I look at it as like a midlife crisis video. I'm like, why were you like putting your psychology onto a documentary and mapping it onto climate change and said, brainwashing a generation about it? Like, you should keep that to yourself, sir, because he obviously has issues and guilt. And so that was a really irresponsible documentary.
Find another 25-year-old model to date and leave us the hell alone.
Yeah, literally leave us. And also, by the way, I just rewatched Titanic. That was a fabulous film, and like I'm just gonna remember him as that form of himself. It was so good.
So many people, so many hypocrites to choose from. So many dangerous people. But he flew across the country in a private jet to win an award for his climate change work, and then flew from there to a private island with his friends for a party. So that, and Kerry says when they question him about it, he goes, "I can't fly commercial. I'm important."
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of them. And then the worst offenders to me, I don't know if they're hypocrites, are the politicians. People like Sheldon Whitehouse. Why? Because they swear an oath. They don't swear an oath to almost anything else except to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. And yet they're out there almost every week saying we should lock up climate deniers. We should lock up people who disagree with us on climate. They have targeted us specifically.
Yep.
So that, I don't know if it's hypocrisy, but it certainly betrays the one oath they took when they took their office.
Yeah, and I actually also agree with this comment from Maddencraft here, who says the oil companies are the biggest hypocrites. I don't know if they're the biggest hypocrites, but they're on my list too. And I write about it all the time, is how frustrating it is to have, BP, Exxon, well, not so much Exxon these days, but like
you play both sides.
Most of the majors, they play both sides, or like they'll post about all this stuff about how they they are worried about carbon dioxide emissions and blah, 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 but they're still producing. And so it's like, if you actually believed that, then you could not force me to work for an industry that I thought was destroying the planet.
Yeah, right.
So I just get such gross feelings from that.
But the difference is where is the population? The population is so triggered and brainwashed to think anything. Now I'm like replaying all the things I've said. I'm like, will this actually get clipped? But because really it's like they're just hedging. They're like, we're business people, right? Like they're just like, we have to do a bottom line. And if someone is looking at Mobil and looking at Exxon on a corner, I want them to pick us. So that's what they're doing. It's marketing, and they are so it is fake. And I think that it hasn't been safe enough for them to come out and say this isn't a thing. I think with Chris Wright, some of the statements he's been saying recently, I just saw a really good one on X. There's no doubt the tide's obviously significantly turning.
Yeah, but Liberty Energy, his company, Liberty Energy, has been pounding that drum for years. Their ESG report that they put out for the company was literally just like a climate realist report.
I love that.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
But it's just frustrating.
Yeah, no, totally. Because it's not true. That's the thing.
Yep. All right. So with regards to Sterling's last comment about jailing climate deniers, which was something that we were really talking about on this show a lot like 2 years ago, because we were all actually a little bit concerned for real that was going to be something that our government started promoting. Climate Bell says, when this house of cards finally collapses and people realize that they were lied to, shouldn't there be consequence for the reckless negligence of those who promoted the climate terror?
I'm not a retribution person. I think we just have to move forward. I mean, I don't know. I'm less impacted by it, and maybe that's just my personality type, but like, I think it's wasted energy to go back when like there's so much to be done and to be built and so much to change. And so I'd rather have the forward momentum, but you guys weigh in because you're more closely impacted.
Well, I would say it's really hard to sometimes suss out the like true believers from the people who are cynical, you know. So, and I wouldn't want anyone to be punished for just being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless they were like, you know, unless they're like a member of the Communist Party or something and they're putting people in gulags and executing them and stuff, then they should probably have some kind of retribution or like some kind of trial or something. But I don't know if that applies in the climate case because it's so distributed.
Yeah,
Well,
you know, it's funny.
surprise.
Someone a few years ago mentioned that we should have Nuremberg climate trials for climate deniers.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah, look,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
surprise no one, but you're all kinder than me. I'm not necessarily a retribution person, but I am a justice person. And they have for 30 years robbed the world.
No, it's so true.
That could have made people healthier and wealthier. They have kept people in poverty in Africa that didn't need to remain in poverty, and they need punishment for that. They should be held accountable. Seize Klaus Schwab's wealth and deliver it directly through microloans to people in Africa.
I was just going to mention that Lucy's absolute positivity and cheerfulness is infectious, and it's really good in my heart. And then Sterling opens his mouth. And
I know, but then I was swayed. Sterling, I'm swayed. I'm swayed too. I mean, but the thing is, it's like, well, how do you do the most good? What is ultimately your goal? Is it to like punish people who are wrong and get back at people, or is it still to do the most good? And if there's some way of holding people accountable because then it maybe prevents a future problem, then sure. But like, I'd rather have those people in Africa. Like, I don't know.
All right.
But maybe it's a money redistribution.
We'll do it your way. That's the better one.
Yeah, our audience is pretty bloodthirsty too, Sterling. So
40 lashes for demonizing CO2 is insane.
Yeah, 40
I
lashes.
believe in justice, and when you've been robbed, you should be recompensed at the very minimum. And yeah, there are some people who are deluded, but deluded people get punished too when they commit crimes, and they are harming people. I'm sorry.
Yeah, both is good. That's true, Michael. Already, Montana Blues, frequent viewer of ours, says, "God bless the Archbishop of Ranterbury." So, we go. We're getting CO2 residue.
Hey, you know, Sterling,
Bless you, my
Lucy's
son.
never seen your mitre.
No, I had it on earlier.
Yes.
So I saw it pre-air.
Yes.
I know. I wasn't
I
sure
sent that
what
to
I was
Sterling.
looking at.
There you go, folks.
All right.
I was like, am I on the wrong live stream?
I've got this question from Chris again, who says, "I see Roger Pelkey Jr. isn't very impressed that the USA pulled out of IPCC. Those assessments they produced aren't being used for good, though, are they?" I mean, no one reads the working group assessments except for us, right? So we're the only ones who read the science report. Everyone else just reads the political summaries, and I don't think that we should be paying the IPCC. So I think Roger likes the work that the working group, like the scientific reports, do, and they do tend to do a fairly good job, except for the like opening editorialization and some of the editorializing throughout. But yeah, it's sorry.
There was only
Sorry,
one,
Roger.
there was I've seen one justification for remaining, and it's the same justification that I don't know if anyone remembers a show called Yes Minister about England back when Britain was still in the EU, and Humphrey explained why we wanted to remain why they wanted England to remain in the EU. And it was to muck it up. So they couldn't do even worse harm. So if the U.S. stays in the IPCC, they still have a voice and they could still stop treaties from being passed and stop big programs. I'm not saying that's a good justification. I'm just saying that's the only justification I can think of for remaining in it.
Albert wants to know, Lucy, did you experience any form of shadow banning or drop in monetization or anything once you started posting climate realist videos?
I did not, which is like the sign of the times, which is pretty crazy. I've actually doubled my following since I started talking about this stuff compared to what I was doing before. So, and I've had a few videos. I did a calming climate chart series that went really, really viral. Just on its own on Reels. And I'm like, okay. So, and I don't monetize my social media. I don't get money off of it. I've got a little bit of censorship happening on TikTok for a while. And my account was actually taken back. I was shadow banned on TikTok for a little bit. And then I had someone who I knew through someone who like knew someone and they got me back on and then I haven't had those problems.
This is my pet who is not going to eat mealworms. To let me know she was here.
Wait, Mars Rock, we already got one of your questions. Hang on, I'm going to try to find someone who hasn't had a question yet. Let's see. Length Muldoon, who I don't think I've seen in our chat before, so welcome, says, when Trump has gone, will climate research funding just be reinstated?
Depends on who's president.
Yeah, well, and also I think that there's a good chance that if he cuts them off badly enough over just the next couple of years, the pipeline will be disrupted enough that maybe it won't come back to the full strength it was before.
Yeah, people underestimate the importance of momentum. If you can stop that momentum, there's a good chance that the whole thing comes apart. So.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, the goal, I guess, is that Democrats come up with something else to be worried about, and they sure will.
AI, it's AI.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone, and the AI thing, we've talked about this a lot, but it's definitely pushing some change in rhetoric when it comes to energy. So
microplastics, chemicals, they'll have plenty of things to go to.
They'll come up with something.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. I have a lot of faith.
Kevin Whitehouse says, Lucy, how do you feel about irresponsible declarations by celebrities? We kind of hit this before, but
yeah, I don't like it. I think it's so like focused, hyper-focused. The climate's no longer the cool thing, by the way. You know, climate was big in 2018. Now everyone was freaking out about Palestine, right? And then, of course, now there's these huge uprisings in Iran, and now no one's making statements about that, when it actually is a push for democracy. So, like, these people, their statements are not worth the paper that they're printed on, but people still idolize them. So I'm not buying it anymore.
All right. Well, it looks like we're running out of time here, you guys. But thank you all so much. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions. I tried. Oh, wait, actually, you know what? I see one more person who I haven't seen in the chat before. I want to get their question. David says, hasn't belief in climate change become a new age religion? It seems to be all belief and no acknowledgement of facts.
Bingo.
Yeah, no, I argued it was religion years ago in a stream of articles pointing out when you can predict two diametrically opposed things, more hurricanes, fewer hurricanes, more flooding, less flooding, more drought and more rain at the same time. That's not science. That's not science. That's religion.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think we have a meme of the day too, or some kind of a funny little video or something, but I'll pass it back to Jim for that.
Yeah, we do. So this is why you need to stay to the very, very, very end of the Climate Realism Show every week, because we got a special treat for you right here at the end. But before we sign off, I want to thank our very special guest, Lucy Biggers. Lucy, this was, we have a lot of fun on this show. This might have been the most fun we've had ever on this show, and we hope to have you back again and to have you as a speaker at the 16th International Conference on Climate Change.
I had so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we hope to see you again on this show. I want to thank our streaming partners, Junk Science, CFAC, the CO2 Coalition, Climate Depot, What's Up With That, and our friends at Heartland, UK, Europe. Thank you to the regular panel, Linnea, Anthony, and Sterling. And thank you very much behind the scenes, Andy, making the show look so great. And thank you, our viewers, not just here on YouTube on the live chat, but also wherever you get your podcasts and enjoy this program. We hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye. You're fired.
How dare you?